Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with award-winning entrepreneur and seasoned coach, Tim Berry. He had his first business when he was 14 years old, and he has never looked back. His passion for helping small businesses scale through effective leadership, sales training, and executive coaching has yielded dozens of awards over 42 years. He brings together both sides of the sales and leadership equation. On the one side, the science of selling using a bulletproof process, and on the other, the art form of applying it conversationally. From his base in Fort Worth, Texas, we get into quite a story and interview. Enjoy.
So, we'll have a good time with this.
Absolutely. It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. How long are we going to go?
Going to go probably about 20 minutes. Is that cool?
Cool.
All right. Yep. Right on. Well, again, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute. I want to begin our journey into your work by asking you this. 5 years ago, COVID changed everything in a lot of ways. How did you get through that era, and how has it influenced the way that you do things today?
Joel, it's a great question, and I'm not surprised. I've watched a bunch of your podcasts, and I really appreciate you and what you bring to the table.
Thank you.
2020 was a watershed moment in my business, and I'm not going to say that I'm smarter than anybody else. What I'm going to say is I got lucky. So in November of 2019, I decided that I didn't any longer want to have a physical location. And that was a big thing at the time because everybody historically was going into my training center, and I would administer and do all the coaching and the sales training and the leadership training live and in person. But I was doing a lot of traveling because I have clients in a bunch of different states. And I recognized in late 2019, I'm like, what am I doing? I like my wife. I really like her. She's cool. And I was spending a lot of time on the road, and I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I laid out this plan with my wife, and I said, look, I'm going to close the training center, and I'm going to do everything virtually. And what ended up happening was she asked me the question, what do you think the impact to revenues is going to be? And I said, I think I'm going to lose half the revenue of the company. She's like, oof, that's tough. But I said, look, I'm going to do it right. I'll make sure that I invest in the right technology, and, I'll practice and whatever, and I'll rebuild whatever it is that we lose. And so I did. So in early January of 2020, I decided in order to generate a little bit of momentum and reach the marketplace, I was going to start doing a free 30-minute sales training for anybody that would show up. And in the beginning, in January, I'd get like 3 people, 4 people that show up. And, it is what it is, right? Well, then the third week of March happened of 2020, and I still only had, 3 people in. But when they shut the country down, like I crashed my Zoom because there were like over 100, and my subscription only went up to 100. And so I was amazed. And as it turns out, I had gained traction because we know that in this world of social media, we live in this voyeur world, right? Where it's like peeping Toms. Everybody's snooping and creeping in each other's lives. And people were watching, they just weren't engaging me, right? So they were paying attention to these 30-minute free things. But then when they shut the world down, we had to figure out a new way to sell. And so my business exponentially increased. I ended up doing 3 times the revenue of 2019 in 2020. So it actually worked out in my favor. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does. And I think there was a lot of serendipitous moments like that. I remember I was moving into a new house. I sold a house and moved in, got in there in January 2020 without knowing what was going on. I was like, man, this would have been a nightmare if it would have been 3-4 months later.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. And your property values have gone through the roof as a result because everybody decided to move starting in 2020. So you got in before the bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So with all the activity that's going on with you professionally, if we had to get it to a place where we figured it out and boiled it down, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of kids at school. It's career day. And one of the kids, 12 years old in the back of the room, is like, what do you do for a living? How do you answer him?
I train salespeople how to sell.
Okay.
right? The lollipop that your mom put in your lunchbox. I taught the salesperson that sold your mom how to make her pick the lollipop that is in your lunchbox. So maybe your mom doesn't put a lollipop in your lunchbox. Maybe, I'll try to avoid making fun of that. But anyway,
So what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream job?
I started working when I was 12. I started my first company when I was 14, but I started working for my uncle, who was a residential home improvement contractor. And I did it because I wanted some financial freedom. And he was like, hey, I can get I could get super cheap labor during the summers. And so at 12 years old, I was already working and I thought I wanted to build custom homes, which ultimately I ended up doing. But at 12 years old, I knew I wanted to be a business owner right away. I knew that I couldn't work for anyone else because I'm a colossal pain in the butt. And so I realized even at a young age, I grew up in a family where my grandfather started a massive company in 1963 that still exists today. My uncle was a successful contractor, and I saw the freedom that came with that. And even at 12 years old, I know that might sound impossible, but I realized that I want to be self-employed, and I have since I was 14. So it's 42 years of being self-employed.
Who's been that hero for you? Who's inspired you to evolve and to become who you are today?
I think my grandfather was always my idol. I was the first grandkid on either side of my family, paternal and maternal, and he was like a cool B-17 World War II pilot. He was handsome and he was smart, although not educated. He was not educated at all. He dropped out of grade school to help make money for the family during the Great Depression. But he was amazing and wise, and so he was always my idol. I loved him till the day he died, and it was like a big piece of me collapsed when he did. It was just a horrible loss. But he was really the model that I wanted to live my life and build my life after.
The one thing about business, it's a lot like sports. There's all these rags to riches stories, the Jeff Bezos story, the Steve Jobs story. What business story exists out there that you look up to? Maybe somebody you would like to meet that would help you on your journey. Who would that be?
I always admired Steve Jobs, and it was for a couple of reasons. That's maybe a layup. It's a stock answer, but there's a couple of reasons why I think he is particularly so fascinating, and I would love to meet in the afterlife.
Yeah.
One, he built something out of a garage into an important thing, but it wasn't always that way. Like everybody remembers that Apple was about to go out of business, but Microsoft and Bill Gates, the evil Bill Gates, bailed Apple out with something like $1 billion plus check. And Steve Jobs got fired from his own company, right? And then went off and created like Pixar and all these other companies before they brought him back in. And once they brought him back in, of course, Apple then really took off into the global phenomenon that it is. And I think of the perseverance and the fortitude and the courage that it took to start something in your garage, grow it to impossibly big things, but then get fired and not just roll up and die. So the resilience that he exuded and the pivot that he made to show that his ideas, his vision was worth it. I think that makes him my number one thing. And I know Apple's a crazy cult, and I've got one, so I can't even make fun of part of the crazy cult, right? Because I love Apple products, but I think his story and his resilience and courage to persevere through adversity, I think that is an amazing business story.
I just listened to the Bill Gates story, his biography, early years called Source Code, and he talked about the first time he saw Steve. So he was just at a point where he started Microsoft. It was very low rent, and they were going to all these tech things because in the beginning, as you know, we come from that generation. Computers just kind of blew up overnight, like AI. Like all of a sudden, everybody had a computer. Everybody was getting a Packard Bell or a Dell or a Gateway or whatever, things kids would never know about today. But he said he walked into this trade show and there was a guy that was kind of in this three-piece suit and just had this aura about him. And he went up to someone, he was like, "Who is that?" And they were like, "That's Steve Jobs. That's Wozniak. Wozniak is the guy that built it. He's the guy that," but they had like projection at the time when projection was not really known. And just the way they presented it, there was this polish, just like the phone, just like the all in one that came out for the first time. Just there was always
Yeah,
that edge, you know?
yeah,
So it's wild.
yeah. It's there. It's like people like Gates, people like Wozniak, Jobs, Bezos, and Elon. Elon is particularly fascinating because he's done so many like engineering miracles. It's things that you couldn't even like the smartest people in the world couldn't even dream of. And this dude's catching like 400-ton rocket boosters,
Yeah.
with a couple of chopsticks. And, as they re enter the earth, it is so amazing the vision and the capabilities that those people have. And it means, everything as we enter this world of AI, where I think AI is going to be like way bigger than the internet. And it's going to be used for both good and bad, of course, just like the internet has been used for both good and bad. But I think it's going to be transformational to society in a way that is even bigger than the internet. And, of course, Elon's part of that. Microsoft is part of that. All these companies are investing massive resources into growing that side of the thing too. So I think we live in interesting times. It's dangerous times, but it's very interesting times as well.
Well, and when you look at our lifeline too, I mean, we came from modem dial-ups and even some rotary phones growing up, and to see what we're doing now, like I went into a tiki bar. We were talking about Kansas City, a new hip little tiki bar down by Power and Light, and they had the Jetsons on, and I'm just like, wow, we thought that was way out there. Thank God we aren't flying cars. It's already dangerous enough on ground.
Yeah,
Could you imagine? Like, there's no way. There's just no way, you know?
in a way, it has changed. Even the way we communicate, and this is part of in my world of sales training. I'm training millennials and I'm training Gen X, Gen Z. I'm training everybody, even a few baby boomers. That's mostly on the executive coaching side. But the interesting thing that the young people are wrestling with is I'm teaching them how to like communicate with words face to face, right?
Yeah.
And they're so much of their communication is done via text and via Snapchat and stuff like that. And so it's like almost teaching them a new language. They're unbelievably sophisticated electronically, and so teaching them the psychology of like reading other people and or determining and identifying like what your prospect's temperament is in order to communicate with them on the prospect's level, right?
Yeah.
Having those active listening skills to take in and make your prospect feel both heard and understood before answering, not to be constantly germinating and rehearsing a response to whatever it is your prospect is saying before they finish talking. Like just take it in first, breathe, and then have a real artful conversation. Like it's neat because that's part of the reason why I exist, right? Yes, the machines are taking over like in Terminator from 1985, but it's still people doing business with people. It really is. I mean, for the foreseeable future, yes, AI will supplement that stuff, but when it comes down to the important things, you're going to need that human interaction. And so
Yeah,
that's why I love that stuff. I feed off that stuff.
for sure. That's one thing about Jobs and viral clips. He always waits after a question. It's like you're almost like it's going to get uncomfortable, but he's just the wheels are grinding hard, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Elon does the same.
yeah, yeah, he does. So let me ask you this. Coming from the sales background, there's this adrenaline swap when someone buys and when someone sells. It just fuels you. What was the first big thing that you bought in your life that you were almost like, oh man, that's expensive, but you wanted it? It was a big thing.
You're going to laugh. I bought a 1986 IROC Camaro,
That's awesome, dude.
and it was black. It had a gold stripe over the top of it, and it had T-tops. It had a cassette tape deck and a booming stereo. So I had a V8 engine, a small block V8 engine. It was actually a Corvette engine, the same as a Corvette engine, in this car. And I would play Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine at like 500 decibels. And it was, I remember when I bought it on Ogden Avenue in Downers Grove, Illinois. And I was 17 years old, and my car payment was something insane, like $400 a month or some bonkers like that. And and that was my first big thing. And I remember it had a beautiful screeching engine when you had those T tops off and you punched it out off the line. You got pressed back in the seat and it made this gorgeous sound. And then, of course, you turn on "Sweet Child of Mine" by Guns N' Roses at 500 decibels. It was amazing.
That's it. That's all the validation you need. So, the thing about being a professional, a business guy, getting up every day, it's the everyday, it's the grind, it's laying all the sand out on the beach, and we do it for a lot of reasons. We have to make money, but we also validate this part of us, like you being an entrepreneur. You just feel it in your DNA. And along the way, we don't need compliments, we don't need the awards, but it certainly helps to validate things. What's one of the nicest things a customer or someone in a business sense said to you that just threw you off guard, that's always been in your mind?
Uh, there's two things actually. So above me, there's this sword thingy up there,
Yeah.
and it's an award that I just won like 2 weeks ago. And it's Arutus. It's Arutus is when in ancient Roman times when a gladiator received their freedom, they would be given a wooden sword. And I'm part of a networking group called Success Champion Networking. And there's about 350 B2B business owners in it. And it's a cool, you set up groups and you do roundtables and you get to intimately know each other and whatever. Well, 350 of my business to business owners voted, and they gave me the Champion of the Year award just 2 weeks ago. And I'm not an award guy at all. It doesn't motivate me or demotivate me in any way, shape, or form. But I think that one meant an enormous amount because it was like peers, people who are in my own league, and they awarded me that thing, and I was super excited about that one. It even took a while. I won it. I went up on stage, and I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." And then I sat back down because I'm like, I'm not the type of cat that wants to be in the spotlight. It's not about me. It's about everyone else, and I pour into them, not the other way around.
Yeah.
But they blessed me with that award, and the more I thought about it, the more I was like, dang, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
That's the first one. The second one is I've won a whole bunch of awards for the training work that I've done, and they come from the clients, and those mean a lot because that's like real impact. That's culture impact in their organizations.
Yeah.
And those hit close to home as well because it's from their heart to mine, and that's an important thing.
So at the end of the day, Tim, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that you work with, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That's a great question. I don't take myself too seriously. I know I can be a serious, intense person, and I've got a super direct way of communicating. I cut to the chase real quick. Everything on my to-do list is like top priority, and I fly around with my hair on fire going Mach 2 at all times. But I work really hard to be balanced. I want people to see my heart. I want people to see that I'm humble, and I have empathy for others, and I want them to win. And I think that's how I perceive myself. Yes, I'm hard charging, and I'm going to go attack the enemy that's got the high ground. I'm going to go after him for sure. But I also want to be known as like an amazing husband and an amazing father. It's what we have here on this earth is not really important at all. It's the relationships that we've got.
Yeah.
And I want to make that apparent, clear even in silly things like sales training, right? Like, you're dealing with other people, and so treat them accordingly. Don't treat them like they're a means to an end. Just be present with them. And yes, we've got jobs as salespeople to qualify the qualified, right? Disqualify the unqualified. But in either case, like, interact with them with dignity and with humanity, and be present with them. Not everybody's your cup of tea. And if we can have some respect and we can have some good conversations, well, then we can have good, strong relationships. And you never know who's going to, maybe some prospect tells you no 1 second, but because they had a great interaction with you, they'll refer you to someone who you can actually help. And it's because you treated them with dignity, even though there wasn't a fit, for you and that original prospect. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I want to be the person that, they say, holy crap, that guy was an amazing business owner, but then he had a heart of gold and he gave back a lot.
I love that answer.
And that's super important to me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, questions, any of the good business, where do they go?
You can check me out, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you go to and search Tim Berry Executive Coach, that is Barry, Tim Berry Executive Coach. Or you can email me. It's tim.berry, Barry, at Sandler, SANDLER.com. Tim.berry at Sandler.com.
Okay, perfect. Tim, this has been great, man. So great to meet you. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck, man.
Joe, you're amazing, and thank you so much for blessing me with your show. Happy to be on it. Thank you so much.
Man. Thank you. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.